Good morning, people in the world. Today is Rob Mega here, and we are back for another episode. This is Star Atlas Chatter number 9, and I'm calling this one a mega episode because we have a lot to go over. The title is going to be Atlas Brew 74, and what the heck is a SDU? We're going to talk about it all, people, so let's get right into it. Okay, so we'll start off with Discord chatter and a bit of a PSA concerning Sage Labs and its persistence. So great question from the community. We have, will Sage Labs act like a kernel for Sage itself? Like once Sage Labs is live, can we expect that it'll stay live and just be updated with time after that? So Michael answers, it is absolutely the foundation. Once these programs are deployed on mainnet, they will persist throughout all things Sage and even across Unreal in some cases. New features will effectively be bolted on through the Labs platform. In fact, it was originally designed as an internal developer tool, hence Labs. Our guys were able to test the program's functions in a live environment ahead of connecting them up to Play Canvas. So even when we transition over to Starbase, it will be using all the same internals. So if it wasn't clear before, it should be clear now. This is the real deal, folks. In a week or maybe a couple of weeks, we will have Sage Labs, and it's going to be the real deal. So everything we do, or just about everything we do, it will have long-lasting effects. We're going to have the real economy in play. So get ready. Things that we craft, you'll be able to use them in further iterations to upgrade Starbases, build ships. So have that in mind as we go forward, okay? So let's move on to recipes. Are all recipes revealed, or do some need to be discovered? Great question. Chris answers for us here. They'll all be available from what I know, but this will likely be a mechanic we implement in the future. So let's take advantage now. Let's take advantage now. Craft all you want in stockpile. Crew and crafting times. We've covered this before, but I've seen a lot of questions, so we're gonna go over it again real quick. So, does more crew members reduce crafting times? Now, this has been a little bit of confusing, but we have two answers here. So after this, we should all be on the same page. So first, Michael answers, crew doesn't necessarily reduce time, but it does increase quantity. So depending on perspective and scale, it effectively reduces time. Now, Chris gives an excellent example when answering another question. I included that here as well. So Chris says, you can cut crafting times from multiple recipes down with greater crew numbers. However, you can never reduce crafting time below the minimum amount of time for a single recipe. For example, if I commit 1,000 crew to craft one food, it'll still take the minimum amount of time 1 second. If I do 1,000 crew and 1,000 food, it still only takes 1 second. This essentially means there is no advantage to committing more than one crew to one single recipe. So that clears it up for me. So hopefully it does for you as well. Next here we have in Sage Labs question, is it possible to craft, mine, and scan at the same time with several fleets? Easily answered by Michael, yes. What about crafting fees? So this week we learned about crafting fees. Will they be fixed or percentage based? Chris answers, right now there is a fixed percentage fee per craft. At this time, it is set to be 5% of market price, but for assets without market prices, it is set to 0.001 Atlas or about 5% of food. This structure is heavily subject to change as we want to encourage production as much as possible, and a fee can stifle production and actually create a price floor, which is not the intended effect. Great. So component functionality in Sage Labs. I just wanted to say functionality in there. It was really not that big of a deal. The question is, are scanning components or tractor beam components used, considered at all in Sage Labs mining/extraction logic? Chipto answers, scanner, yes for scanning, tractor, no. So no tractor love this time around, but look forward to it in further iterations of Sage. star base. So probably once we have the repair and refuel ships, that gameplay loop, that's probably when tractor beams and tugging or towboating ships back to a star base will be implemented. So that'll be fun to do. Okay, so great question. Completing tasks while you sleep. A member asks, do assets continue that action even if the game is off? Let's say you set a bunch to craft and some to mine and others to travel and turn off your computer for a couple of hours. Will these actions be completed when you return? Michael answers, yeah. The cool thing is Solana is your computer and that never turns off. So processes will run until you hit some other cap, ergo cargo space. Next, we have ship scanning. No love for the Visas OPOD. Maybe, maybe not. So the question, can any ship scan and are some ships better at scanning? So first, Michael answers, all ships can scan and all ships are equal. I think it was a day later, Michael recants and he says here, I might have said they were equal, but they're not. SDUs discovered within a scan will depend on fleet metrics. So Michael's keeping me on my toes here. Keeping me on my toes. Things do change. That just shows us. And we are going to talk a little bit more, or a lot more rather, on SDUs when we get to the Atlas Brew chatter in just a moment here. So let's continue. Crafting ships. So this was a curious question. Someone asked, are their ships good for crafting? And surprisingly, Chris said yes. So this was puzzling because, as we know, it takes crew members to craft resources, not ships. So I guess technically, if you look at it as ships that have a lot of crew, then that would technically be good ships for crafting. However, I was a little bit curious about that. And later on, we had another question from the community that may answer that crafting ship question. So the question was, will there be any love for transport or rescue ships for Sage Labs? Example, Evax, Bitboat, and Asteris, etc. So Chipto answers, passenger modules give plus crew for crafting. So that may answer the question. If you have one of these ships that have a passenger module, looks like you're going to get a bonus to crafting. I don't have one of these ships yet. So good for you if you have one. It will be utilized. Kudos to the team for incorporating that as much as they can incorporate from things that are ships, components, the better it is. I'm still looking forward to them implementing our HABs in interiors and our HAB crafting stations. All that stuff should supply bonuses and things in Sage Labs, and I'm sure they're going to be implementing that as soon as possible. So let's continue. Insight, excuse me, insight into the pace of gameplay. Chipto, scanning is the fastest at the minute level. Mining is medium at the less than 1 hour level. Mass crafting is long at hours, depending on how much you mined, assuming tree hours in your fleet. Okay, so let me get a sip of water here because we're going to jump into the next section, which was pretty much the bulk of this whole week. So this is going to be a long brew, so settle in. I wasn't going to be able to wing this without water this go around. So let's jump in for the Atlas Brew chatter. Now I'm nominating this one for the Atlas Brew of 2023. All right, the best one. So here we go. So it starts off with Chris giving us a synopsis of the day in the life of what our experience is going to be like in Sage Labs when we first journey into it. So here we go. Ship optimization will be highly important. When selecting your fleet, ships optimized for mining or crafting, now we kind of have an idea about ships that craft, okay, will have the best success in the economy. He goes on, we will target Sage Labs with 9 resources found on asteroids. Toolkits from our current R4s, currently obviously we have fuel, food, and ammo. Toolkits, however, will not be used in any crafting recipe. So basically, toolkits will come into play once we have combat in Sage. So still stockpile your toolkits because it will be needed in the future because you trust and believe there's going to be a lot of combat going around. So here we go. The further away from star bases you go, the better the resources you will find, and these resources will be more plentiful. But remember, you'll need fuel to get there and back. If you get stuck with an empty tank, you will lose all cargo and have to respawn at your nearest central space station or starbase. Also, there will be a small fixed fee imposed. Okay. Okay, now, once you're mining at an asteroid, you will have to pick one resource to mine at a time. Then, when mining begins, you will start burning ammo and food. You can stop mining one resource and start a different one on the same asteroid, or even move to another until you fill up your cargo capacity. Next, you will take your full cargo to a central space station or starbase to unload. Note, each starbase or CSS has its own localized cargo. So if you want to move a resource from one starbase to another starbase or to a central space station, you actually need a fleet or a ship to move that resources to the other one. So it's all localized. Okay, so after you unload, you can craft at any central space station or starbase. However, you must be at a central space station if you want to move items to the marketplace. So keep that in mind. So you're going to need gas and fuel, back and forth, and make sure you keep note of where your resources are as you're venturing off into the galaxy there. So next, non-R4 craftable assets will include radiation absorbers, particle accelerators, frameworks, and crystal lattice, whatever that is. But I guess we're going to find out soon. In Sage Labs, the deepest craftable asset will take 3 to 4 steps of combining resources and outputs until you get to the final product. And in the future, of course, Chris talks about there'll be 10 steps where you take one resource, refine that resource into a refined resource, and then take that refined resource, combine it with some other resources to craft something else, and go up to even 10 layers deep to craft that final product. But in Sage Labs, it's going to go to about 3 or 4 layers deep. So that should be very interesting. So now we're going to get into SDUs, which are basically survey data units. Another sip of water here. So, excuse me. Okay, so SDUs differ from basic resources in that they are first come, first served, and they will be required in a couple of crafting recipes. Also, you can obtain SDUs by scanning a sector on the map. There is a 25% chance a success for each scan unless that same area was scanned already in the last minute. Once you find an SDU deposit, you will receive a linear increase of SDUs up to a cap of 10 for your fleet size. For example, if you have 10 extra small ships, fleet value of 1 each, you'll receive 10 SDUs. And I've included a little chart here, and it says fleet size. Maybe that's better for fleet points, but basically for that same example, if you have 10 extra smalls times 1, that'll equal you 10 SDUs. Let's take an example. If you have a fleet of 1 large ship and 1 capital ship, that's 11 points, so to speak. However, the cap is 10, so you only get 10 SDUs if you were lucky enough to scan and receive an SDU deposit. So that is that. So let's talk about some buffs and some love for small fleet owners. So here is a quick snippet from Wagner on the idea behind SDUs. So Michael says, the SDUs are really designed to provide activity for smaller fleets given their lack of competitiveness with large fleet extraction / crafting. And since we're on the subject of buffs, let's go ahead and take this question. It is, will the VWAP balancing be applied to all the existing ships or merely some outliers? And does that mean some lower VWAP ships will get minor nerfs or be left as is? So Chipto answers, no, it will be targeted at ships that are higher price that need a boost. So I'm so happy the team is going this route, even though this really didn't affect me as far as the ships that I have in my fleet. But I know a couple of weeks ago, we talked about kind of the variance between the Opal Jet Jet and the Fimble Lobe, where the Jet Jet's $300, but the lower priced Fimble Lobe basically is kind of better. So they're going to leave the Lobe, this is the way I'm taking it. They're going to leave the Lobe alone. So that's great, but they'll just go ahead and look to buff the Opal Jet Jet. I think that's a perfect way to go. Kudos to the team. All is well in Gallia. Okay, so more on SDUs and the redemption process. Okay, so here we go. Chris is continuing here. First, every redemption recipe will require a certain amount of SDUs, plus many of the other craftable assets in the economy. Basically, we're going to have everything going into these massive redemption recipes that will require large amounts of resources. For example, a crafting recipe may need 4 resources to craft a component. A redemption recipe may need 4,000 recipes or resources plus multiple SDUs in order to redeem a recipe. Okay, so the output for these redemption recipes will be actual Star Atlas NFTs, things like CSS land plots, claim stakes, and even ships. So that is awesome. So I hope these redemption recipes, if you choose to go that route, as opposed to golden tickets that we're about to talk about, hopefully it'll be, well, actually, we won't have to worry about like the drop rates in the past EV, where basically you really didn't get anything from playing and scanning, and you really didn't get too much. But here you'll be able to, there'll be a loot table, and if you craft the certain assets, you'll be able to redeem specific things guaranteed. So I'll look forward to that. Okay, so next is golden tickets in the redemption process. Okay, so only one golden ticket can win a prize in the raffle, and whether you win or not, that golden ticket is burned after being used in a weekly raffle. However, you can use more than one golden ticket to increase your chances of winning, just like standard raffles. So that makes sense. Golden ticket recipes will consist of every single crafted asset in the game. So it looks like in order to craft one golden ticket, it's going to take about 18 items plus SDUs. So we'll see how that works out. Golden tickets will be high risk but high reward as compared to redeeming for a guaranteed asset like a ship. So Chris gives an example. Would you like $1 now or a 1% chance to make $1,000 later? So high risk, high reward. You know, what do you think you're going to do? I'm probably going to do a mix of both. Maybe keep 1 or 2 golden tickets per week just to test my luck, but I'm not going to be wasting my resources to make a whole bunch of golden tickets, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, so we're going to close out here with the new referral system, and Michael Wagner goes over this and gives us the details. It seems like the team has settled on what it's going to be. So here we go. First off, the referral system is a Web3 based on-chain system. So probably the first of its kind right there. Second, any referral you make that purchases on the marketplace, primary or secondary, you will receive 25% of the value that would flow to Automata. So we'll break that down. If we're talking about on the primary marketplace, that would be 25% of the purchase price. So for example, if one of your referees buys a ship that costs $1,000, you'll get 25% of that, $250. Let's say another referee buys something on the secondary marketplace. So they make a purchase for the same $1,000, but Automata would only receive, in this example, let's say 4% of the transaction fee. So you would receive 25% of that 4%, which comes out to be $9.60. So that's how that works. And thirdly, for every $500 that your referrals spend on either marketplace, primary or secondary, combined, however it manifests itself, once you break $500, you will receive 1 golden ticket and 1 golden ticket after that for every $500 threshold that you reach. So that is pretty cool. Some ways to get some free golden tickets by giving some referrals. So it is pretty good, way better than the referral system that they had the last time that everybody just said, okay, and just kind of bypassed it. But again, kudos to the team. This looks very good, and I look forward to participating in that as well. So before I close out, I want to give a huge shout out to the Star Atlas community once again for week in and week out asking great questions in the Star Atlas Discord, in the Atlas Brews and what have you. That's what allows me to put this together in a nice, neat format and share it with the community that maybe aren't able to keep up with everything like a lot of us hardcore members are and things like that. So thank you very much. I will see you next week. Take care. Rob Mega is out. Float the buoy.